Yeah, man, I understand. Here we are going to the regional. Ooh.
50 miles out still.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm sorry, those of you who live in Oklahoma, you guys got it rough. There ain't nothing here. Sitting right here in this big old line, right outside the venue. Man, I need to give me some Monday nightmares before I get up in here. I need this really, really bad. Alright guys, we are in the venue and there's a lot of Texas players here. So, with that being said, the competition seems fierce. You know, I assumed a lot of these Texas folks would be in YCS Portland right now, but guess I was wrong. So, let's take one more look. Not too much, so. But then again, there's still a big line outside, so we're gonna have to wait and see. Yo, what's going on, YouTube fam? This is your boy J-Money here. We just came back in from Tulsa, 4.5 hour drive. It was pretty lengthy drive for regional, but you know, it's whatever. Anyway, it was me, buddy Adam right here, and another guy, but he went back home with his wife and kid. So, you know, this is a nice regional report we got going on. So, you know, this man here was pretty close to getting that top 8 and up until the last couple rounds. But I'm going to go and let him go first and go through his matchups and all that stuff. So how we're going to do this is we're just going to go through our matchups. Then we're going to go through, you know, maybe the highlights of some of our matches. And then from there, we'll just talk about some of the takeaways from that regional experience and see what we can learn from it going forward in the future. So, you know, why don't you go ahead and start first?
All right. Well, I'm Adam, and I played Pendulum Magicians for the regional. My first round was against Muskets. I won that match 2-1. Not too difficult, but time almost made me take that L in that round. My round 2 was a mirror match, another Pendulum Magician, 2-0. Won that. I just made a bigger board than he could handle. Round 3, I played Necros. I lost the Necros to game 3. It was a die roll match because he won the dice roll in his first game. He played the Vanity's Ruler lock. I couldn't out it with my main deck, so I just scooped it up, went to side deck. I didn't show him what I was playing. My game 2 against him, I just made a big board, 6 interruptions. He couldn't handle it. He scooped it up. Game 3, he went first. He set the Vanity's Ruler. I couldn't draw my out to Vanity's Ruler, so I lost that one. It's unfortunate, but not that big of a deal. That was my first loss in round 3. Round 4, True Draco, 2-0. I won the die roll, set up a big board. He couldn't handle it. He scooped it up. His game 2, I guess he bricked. He opened 2 set cards and passed. And I blew through that and 2-0'd him. Round 5 was also a True Draco. Another 2-0 victory. Same thing happened. It was almost an identical match. Game 1, I went straight into a big board. He scooped it up, didn't show me what he was playing. His game 2, he set 4. I sided it evenly, assuming I was playing a control deck, and I opened it evenly. He set 4 with his Majesty Maiden on board. I evenly'd him. He kept 1 face down. He searched the Dynamite Knuckle with his 1 face down, and I was able to blow him out from there. Quick 2-0. Round 6, Dragon Link. Another swift 2-0. Dragon Link, game 1, I won the die roll. I went first, set up 6 interruptions. He just scooped it up. He didn't think he could play through it. Game 2, he made a very questionable play when he opened Oviraptor and searched an Oviraptor and then passed. And I asked him, I said, "Is that all?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." So then I set up my Servant of Endymion. I put my 3 counters on it, specialed out my Jackal King, and he just scooped it at that point. He showed me his hand. He had a Cyphering Gamma, and he said he probably shouldn't have uh, summon the Oviraptor. He should have just not done anything. But I told him with the Jackal, it wouldn't have mattered because I could have negated it anyway, and he just scooped it up. He said there wasn't anything he could have done. I guess he bricked. Let's see, that was Dragon. Round 7, I played a 60 card Orcus deck, and it was weird. I lost that one 0-2. I got OTK'd by Gizmic, that new machine snake thing. I didn't see it coming. It was unfortunate. I went for my pendulum. He went first, and he set 2 cards and passed, and that was it. So I was like, okay, well, not too big of a deal. I've done this before. So I went for my pendulum summon, and I pendulum 4, and he Solemn Judgment, and I couldn't recover from that. So he ended up winning game 1, and then game 2, he just blew me out. So nothing I could have done. And then round 8 was Danger, Thunder, Orcus. It was weird. I lost 0-2 to that. My game 1, he went first. He set up a not too big of a board, but I was able to push through most of it, but I just couldn't close it out game 1. And then game 2, I got hit with Droll. I went first, and I played Dragon Shrine to send Dark Worm. I sent Dark Worm, special Dark Worm, grabbed the gate 0, and he hit me with Droll, and my hand was full of draw cards, drawing searches. So my turn pretty much ended there, and I lost that match.
Because Gizmic again.
He OTK'd me with Gizmic again, and it was pretty brutal, losing 2 matches in a row to Gizmic. I wasn't expecting that thing to pop out and swing for game, but it is what it is. It happened.
Oh, man.
Placed 40th at the regional.
Yeah, those last 2 matches, man. You were on the right track to being top 8. I was legitimately thinking you were going to make that top cut. That would have been wild, you know? And, shoot. So, as for me, I think I went into time about 5 of the 8 rounds. It was an 8-round Swiss tournament, by the way. 8-round regional. So, round 1, I played against Pendulum, lost to die roll. We ended that out in a draw. Round 2, I went against Draco, also ended that in a draw because time. 3, I played against some weird Guard Dragon Orcus deck. Also lost the die roll. And, this chick, she literally off one card, which is Draconet, she ended on Nitria Exterio, Galatea with a set Crescendo, Crystal Wing, and a Spheres, all off of one card, which is weird, but it was incredibly effective at the same time. The Crystal Wing, honestly, is what got me. Had that Crystal Wing have been a hot red, it would have been a lot better for me, because that Crystal Wing was stopping Grave effects and stopped Brotar's affected hand from going off. So, again, I was prepared for a hot red, but I wasn't prepared for Crystal Wing. That's a lot harder to play around when you're playing a combo deck. It's whatever. Round 4, I lost to Draco, 1-2, went in time, and he just had more life than me. And I had combo, but, of course, time in main phase 1, it really gets you. Round 6, I played against Muskets. There were a lot of Muskets there, by the way. Weirdly enough, won that 2-0. It wasn't difficult. Round 6, I went against Salad, and I got 2-0'd. Now, at this point, I lost my mojo because of all the draws and the loss. The 2 losses against the combo deck, which I shouldn't have lost against, so Draco, and all that stuff. Like this opponent, I should have easily won. And I know it, and especially it came really apparent game 2, when I made like really really fatal misplays that turned my hand from full combo to complete to Saryuja pass. So yeah, that lets you know what kind of mental state I was in at that point. And then round 7, I played against for hire. We ended that out 1-1, but for like 10 minutes, I was basically coaching this guy on how to play his deck. I felt pretty bad for him, but at this point, I also didn't care because I went into time so many times and lost a couple matches. There's no way I was gonna get my invite at that point. And then round 8, I just decided not to show up to that round just so I can look at the top tables, see what I can get deck profiles from X and Y. So overall, what are some of the noticeable moments in some of your matches?
Building a board of 6 interruptions and just having your opponent just scoop their deck up and say game 2 because they don't even want to try to play through it. That's pretty interesting. That happened on 4 matches. At least one game out of 4 matches that happened where I just set my board up and they just pick their deck up and just walk away. Not even walk away, but they just say game 2. Takeaway from that is enjoy the good moments. When you're doing good, keep with it, but don't let it get to your head. And then when you do take the loss, don't let it get to your head and stick in there. After I hit that solemn judgment and lost that game, I ended up losing that match, and I was pretty upset because I was on my way to top 8 at that point. And I was like, at this point, I can't make top 8. I was like, at least maybe I can at least top 32 the event. And then I had this bad mindset after I took the loss in round 7, and I lost round 8, and I dropped out of top cut. Don't let a loss get to your head.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to do the same thing, but shoot, when you literally start the day off with like 2 draws in a row, and your first matches, you really start to get agitated. It's really agitating when you just keep ending in draws. And then your first non-draw is a loss, it really starts to get to you. So, the main point there is don't let it sit there. Do not let the loss sit there. Take the loss, learn from it, let it go. Let it go. Don't let that mental state, I was tilted. After a certain point, and it carried on in the next match. And so when you sit there and you let things like that sit there, and it'll overall just affect your performance later on, and it'll start having a snowball effect, and it'll start going downhill. That's what happened to me. And it's not fun. And then it makes you even more tilted when you had to travel 4.5 hours to get there. And that's also kind of what made it even more of a less fun experience the later on it got. It's because I'm like, man, 4.5 hours to get here just to play against multiple Dracos and multiple control decks, and in a lot of matches in draws and going to time about 4 to 5 times and things like that. It gets, combined with the 4.5 hour driving, it does get frustrating and things like that. So, do not let confidence waver at all, even if you lose a match. Sometimes you can do things perfectly and still lose that game. Whatever. Game. I think my most fun match was my first round against the Pendulum guy, even though I lost the die roll. Even though it was a combo deck, even though he went off, and made his board game 1, I still managed to win that game. Because, I don't know about other people, but I personally enjoy playing against other combo decks. I love to try to put that brain to work and try to just navigate around everything and just pick the board apart little by little by little. So, prime example. So, he kind of messed up on this one. This would have been the difference between his 5 negates and 6 negates. So, he hard drew Destrudo, and he pendulum summoned the Destrudo from his hand right underneath the Electromite, which is a big no-no. Like, the Destrudo cannot be like in that zone. It
cannot
cannot
be
be
directly
there.
beneath
It cannot be
the
directly beneath the electromite, and it cannot be in the electromite's rightmost zone either. It cannot be in those two zones. But he put it there. But he put his dark worm in the right zone, which is, fine. But, later he found out, well, I can't resolve LP at this point. I told him I would have just kept it a shoot on your hand at this point. I would have just kept it in the hand and summoned it off LP rather than pendulum summon it because I kind of screwed him. So when he made the triple burst with the Black Fang and the Electromite, that Deshrew was just right there, just had that spot clogged. It was he made it to where he just had to go straight into Seal. No, he linked up the Deshrudo and the True Bush for Agripane, then went to Seal, used the Shro, he made Dragster, so he ended on Jackal, Dragster, Big Endymion, and Seal. And I opened a Double Venus, Emergency Teleport, Kyoto Waterfront, Omni Dragon Brotar, and a World Legacy Monstrosity. And I still managed to break the board. So I started off with Waterfront. He lets that go. Weirdly enough. And then I start with Emergency Teleport. He lets it go. Weirdly enough. I have, so, yeah. I put the Chosen out. I make Imduck. Just so I can put extra counters on Waterfront. So it's at 2. I normal summon the Venus because I have 2 and I know at this point his Omni, he has one of 2 options. He can either bounce it with Seal or negate it with Jackal. But since he didn't do anything on Summon, I knew he was going to negate it with Jackal. Because this guy does watch my channel, because I found that out before the match even started, he knew who I was. And so he knows if Venus resolves, I win. So I went to pay for the 500. He negates with Jackal. So his one Omni monster negate has now been used. So when the Venus got destroyed, that allowed me to reveal Brotar in hand, summon it to the board, and I paid cost. I discarded World Legacy Monstrosity and searched Levianeer. Linked the Imduck and the Brotar into a Nightmare Phoenix, and blew out his last skill, but he still had 2 cards in his hand. I just wanted to bait out the Seal. And he did it. He used the Seal, and he bounced a Nightmare Phoenix. I guess he thought I was just going to go into battle phase. But I used Nightmare Phoenix to discard Venus, so now I have 2 lights and a dark in the graveyard. And I dropped... before I dropped Levianeer, I went for the effect of Waterfront to search. And he negated it with Dragster. I totally forgot it can negate Spell Traps or effects. So I just dropped Levianeer and blew up his Dragster so I can search next turn, and blew up his Jackal. So now I'm left with Big Endymion, and he summoned Sloth from the deck. And since Levianeer couldn't swing, I just decided to pass it on to him. I had the biggest monster on the board, so he scaled 2 up 2, and he Pendulum Summon Gate 0 from his hand. And he had passive, he was just basically walling up. And so I drew, and I played another monster, and, well, actually I didn't play anything, because I drew in a Call by the Grave, and I searched the Thunder King Kaiju. That was it. So, I used Levianeer and swung at the Gate 0, so I can go to the extra deck. I didn't want to attack Sloth, because he had full skills, and I didn't want him to go into his extra deck either. So I set the Call by the Grave and passed. And he drew for turn, and he tributed that Sloth to normal summon Jackal. So I'm like, okay, he has his extra deck unlocked now. And I have a Levianeer on the board and a set Call by the Grave. Perfect, whatever. So he Pendulum summons Gate 0 again. So I'm like thinking, all right, I tell him, you're going for the absolute play, aren't you? Because at this point, I have no lights or darks in my graveyard. So, I say that, and I planted the seed in his head, and he went for the absolute. Then he used Chronograph from his skills to summon Time Gazer so he can keep Jack on the board, link those, the Time Gazer and the Absolute up into a Sign Frame Lambda, and then he goes for the effect of Absolute to summon Vortex, and I go Call by the Grave. Yeah, that puts counters on Jackal, but at this point, Um, I just kind of win from there because, Levionier's still on the board. The biggest thing on the biggest presence, and then from there I just go draw, and I add Gamma to hand. I drop Gamma over his Jackal, and I drop Thundercat on my board, and just a battle face swing. It was basically over. So, it goes to show, even though you're looking at a scary board, if you just dissect the situation and all that, you can play around these things. These things can be played around. You just have to basically, again, half this game is mind games. I said this in about like 3 different videos. If your opponent is letting certain things go, you kind of know where you need to go from there to start to bait out the rest of that stuff, and things like that. But that's just one of many experiences I've had. When it comes to combo decks, this is why I love playing against combo decks, because I feel like, especially a combo deck against another combo deck, I think it just reveals who's the better player in that sense. Obviously against this guy, when he sets up his board, they don't even attempt to try to play or try to break the board. And I looked at that board, and I'm looking at my hand, and it's like, okay, it's not too special. I didn't open any kaijus, I didn't open any like board breakers, but I'm looking at and I see potential in this hand. I see, okay, I opened Harmony Dragon Rotar, so I could potentially make this work. So let's see what happens. And goes to show, well, I attempted to do something, and played it cool, played it smart, and I didn't just completely blow out the board turn 1, but little by little, I just kind of just picked everything apart. So players, if you're going up against, like, let's say Dragon Link or Pendulums or any other kind of combo deck kind of thing, don't get too discouraged. Now, if your hand just isn't that great and you're going against a board like that, then yeah, scoop it up and don't let your opponent know what you're playing. The last thing you want to do is just attempt to break the board, fail to do so, and now your opponent knows what you're playing. They know what to side and all that other stuff. So, I know I went on just a little too long with that story with round 1, but it's just a really, really good example of just player skill and just player experience and just being able to play around things, because even against somebody who's probably isn't as experienced, even with these boards, you can kind of, the better player 9 times out of 10, if you open decent, of course, should probably get that game if you know what you're doing and things like that. So, any thoughts on your end?
No, just whenever you're playing, if you're playing up against a combo deck and they put up a big board, or a control deck and they've got 5 back row, just break it down little by little. If you know you can play through it, just break it down little by little. Make your safe plays. Don't go for the risky plays that may get you a lot of advantage. But if that play gets stopped, you just get crushed into you just lose. Go for your safe plays. Break it down little by little. Don't just give up.
Hey, it goes to that same thing happened with me, bro. Round 3 against that weird Guard Dragon Orcus deck with that chick. We're in game 3, and since game 2 she hand trapped me like multiple times, which is weird, of course, because she's playing this like super combo stuff over here, and now I'm seeing hand traps. So game 3, I don't open that great. I opened like an unexpected die. Like, these are just the key cards that really play a factor. All I know is I have Draco Net in hand, unexpected die in hand, Arsar Christia. The other few cards, oh yeah, there was a vanilla in hand, so that was important. So I'm over here thinking, alright, I know she's hand trapped me game 2. And just looking at my hand state, if I start with Draco Net and she hand traps that, or if I go for that, or I go for Miko and she hand traps that, I kind of just lose from here. So, I went for the less optimal route, which was the correct route. I decided to activate Unexpected Die. She lets it go. And I use the effective Link Spider. She lets it go again. Because, well, I haven't committed my normal summon yet. So, I special summon a vanilla, so I have 2 monsters on the board, no normal summon. And I go tribute, normal summon Christia pass. And she couldn't deal with it. And it took about 4 turns of just walling up. And I'm over here with this Christia and a Draco Net on the field. I don't put any more monsters on the board because at this point I'm just okay. She's playing hand traps. I wouldn't put it past her that she would play spear mode, and she actually did side spear mode, so that was correct. But she didn't open it, so I guess it didn't matter. But after about the 4th turn of just attacking and her walling up and doing damage little by little, she gets into an impermanence, and I kind of lost the game from there. So it's like I said earlier, there's times where you can do everything right and still kind of just lose the game. So, yeah, he is right on that one. Just hey, and I've said it multiple times on the channel. The most optimal route isn't always the best route. Sometimes the most optimal route can leave you in the most vulnerable spots. If you get hand trapped, if you get interrupted in any way, you could just be caught with your pants down at that moment, and you kind of just lose. So, yeah. Oh yeah. Another takeaway, I don't know what's going on with people playing Gizmic because that's a thing apparently. According to one of his opponents, he mentions that in Orcus, any Orcus variant, that people play Gizmic because apparently, according to that person, it allows you to close out the game with 1 less monster than Boral Sword. Which I need to do the math on that to see if that's true. But yeah, I guess it really all depends on the monsters you're committing into a Boral Sword as well. So I'll have to look further into that. So any final thoughts?
Remember, guys, we're not here to lose game 1. We're not here to give away free game 1s and put us in a bad spot. Just do your best in game 1. Don't give up. That's about it.
Hey. Did you feel like game 1 kind of dictated a lot of matches?
100% yes. Game 1 dictated the pace of the match overall, especially whenever my game 1, I put up a full 6 interruption combo board on the field, and they see it, and I guess in their mind, they're just like, oh great, here we go. We got to go up against this Wombo combo deck over here. I don't know if my deck can handle it, and they just scoop it up.
I feel like at that point, their mindsets puts them in a state where it's just like you already lost.
Exactly. So they scoop their deck up, and after game 1, they side. I see them siding heavy, but the problem with siding heavy is you side too much side cards, you just don't see your engine pieces, and that's what happened most of the time.
Shoot, the opposite seems to happen for me. I side too many side cards. I don't see any in my opening hand, but that's whatever. But he was right on that. I totally forgot what you had said.
Game 1 dictates the pace of the match. If you blow out your opponent game 1, you put up a full board, big board, big combos, a lot of big monsters, heavy negates, whatever your deck does. If you execute your deck's game plan perfectly, it sets the pace of the match. And if your opponent doesn't feel like they can handle that, it shows when you just look at them and you can just see that they're disheartened. They're like, oh man, they just feel beat already.
Because they lost the die roll.
Because they think that if they don't win the die roll, they don't set up their board first. Like they can't play through it. I don't know if it's just inexperience with breaking boards or just a general disdain for combo decks. But you build your board game 1, you set the pace of the match, they feel defeated. It's 100 times easier to win game 2, even after they side against you.
I mean, man, you're not wrong on one of them things. It's what I said a while ago. I don't think it was in a video. I think it was a post I made on Zodiac Duelist, and it's just, it was just a maxi argument to where it's like, I feel like even if it was back, people would then just blame their losses on the fact that they didn't draw maxi. and all that stuff. And so it's just like, okay. So now, instead of just learning to break boards, you're just blaming your losses on crutch cards. I feel like the same thing is going to happen with these Megaton promos, to where people are just going to blame their losses on the fact that, oh, I didn't open a bureau, or I just didn't open Dark Ruler no more, so that's why I lost. So, my advice to people all the time is just, when you learn to break boards, playing against combo decks becomes immensely easier. Again, it doesn't take anything fancy, take my game one. All you need really is just playable cards. The problem is people are so used to A, saving their best cards, and B, taking the most optimal route, which causes people to lose games left and right. If you see two options in your hand and there's interruptions, you go for the option that's less optimal, because that's the one that's going to give you the most options under those circumstances. Things like that. You gotta just overall, I feel like people rob themselves of these experiences because, what happened with you. Everybody just kept scooping and didn't even try to play it out. Sometimes, even though you're probably going to lose that game, sometimes it is still beneficial to play that out, to just get that practice, get the overall work into trying to play around things, different combinations of things, just try it out, and over time, you find things getting a little bit easier. Sometimes, attempting to play the stuff out also kind of lets you detect cards that you're playing that isn't really all that important. Sometimes it also lets you detect cards that are not very helpful, So that's another plus for being, playing through boards like this. When I saw War Legacy Monstrosity in my hand against my round one opponent, I thought, well, this card isn't very good against them. But the cards that you play Monstrosity for, which is the big BES and the Thunder King Kaiju, those are good going second, because one's a big 25 drop Cyber Dragon that you can use to apply pressure, and another one is a monster that just auto-outs a threat. So, okay, at this point, I know it's okay. And things like that. So, yeah, guys, learn to break boards. If you don't know how to break boards, just practice playing into boards. Don't play, biggest tip, just don't play into a board exactly how you would play your first turn if you won that dice roll. And, that's basically it for me.
I got nothing else to say. That's it.
Alright, so this video was lengthy. However, I do believe a lot of this stuff that was mentioned is pretty important, especially to a lot of people that have gone to the regionals for the first time, second time, or if they haven't been at YCS, or usually they just want to elevate their game. If they want to elevate their game more, I feel like a lot of these points needed to be said. So with that being said, I'm not even going to bother editing any of this stuff out, because I believe about 98% of the stuff was important. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is J Money, and I am signing out.
Through the wastelands, through the highways, and